Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we are specifically going to talk about the 2022 Winter D&D Firestorm. So this is an event, and I'm going to tell you right now. So you guys know me, man. I get spun up. I get vexed about stuff, and here's the issue, right? And so I want to address this. So this video is the second take on this, right? I already did one, and I said everything I wanted to say in the way I wanted to say it, right? But I got called out by Gibson, and he's like, hey, you've been complaining about the edition wars, but here you are actively in the edition wars, right? And he's 100% right, so let me address that, right? So first of all, I feel like I got the receipts, man. Go check my videos, right? When one D&D, when they said there's just D&D, I am a virtual, grizzled, scarred veteran of the edition wars, and I've been on the front lines of them for a long time with my virtual greatsword, right? And when they said just D&D editions are done, I went in my castle's backyard, and I took my virtual greatsword and I wrapped it in gray sackcloth, and I used nice tan twine, and I put that thing in the shed, right? And you could see it here, right? Like I was like, it's just D&D. We don't need to worry about editions. And I did videos and videos and videos, completely recrafting my language and being like, Gygaxian Dungeons & Dragons, Lorrainian Dungeons & Dragons, Dancian Dungeons & Dragons, Heinsoonian Dungeons & Dragons, Perkinian Dungeons & Dragons. We don't need to talk about editions anymore. Let's talk about history. Let's talk about honor. Let's talk about glory of Dungeons & Dragons. Let's completely recraft how we look at Dungeons & Dragons. Let's build D&D from zero up, right? And I put my virtual greatsword in the virtual shed, right? But then, okay, and the Wizards of the Coast creatives were like, we don't want the edition wars. Let's have peace. And the suits, the Hasbro suits were like, we definitely don't want the edition wars. It doesn't do anything but cost us dollars, and we're ready for it to end. And then the D&D community, to the last man, okay, and woman too. Actually, I didn't hear many female creators even talk about this, right? So I'm going to say to the last man, right? Like, to the last man of the D&D community, everybody's like, nope, 6E's coming. I don't want peace. Everybody go get your virtual greatsword, because the edition wars are on. And here's my issue, right? So I understand what Gibson's saying, and so I shelved 2 videos that were already cut based on one comment that Gibson said, right? But my issue is, I was here for peace, man, and I got the receipts. You can go check my videos. You could see like a 3-week, 4-week period where I was desperately trying to restructure the entire way I was talking about Dungeons & Dragons and addressing Dungeons & Dragons and even addressing other groups, right? And I dialed it back. But baby, if the edition wars are on, I'm going to be on the front lines, right? I'm all for the war ending, but if the war is going on, I sure as second ain't going to sit on the porch, right? So that's kind of where I'm at, right? Now, here's the thing. When we go to IRL war, there's conventions, right? And that's what Geneva Convention is about. You honor prisoners, like you treat people well, even when you're at war. There's lines, right? And so Gibson, that's a good reminder. Now I'm going to say it, right? If you hear me doing stuff that sounds like edition war content, yeah, you're right. I unpacked my virtual greatsword, and I'm on the front lines again, because if the war is on, you could bet I ain't standing on the sidelines, right? And I mean, think about it from an IRL perspective. Who does, right? Everybody's here for war. Everybody's here for peace, as long as peace is a possibility. But if the entire D&D community said, no, we 100% are going to call it 6E, and the edition wars will rage forever, then you sure as heck ain't going to see me sitting on the sidelines, right? I'm a virtual grizzled veteran of the edition wars, which are a bloodless war, but I got a virtual greatsword, and I am on the front lines. And the reason why is I get to stand by while groups just completely down, while Dungeons & Dragons every single day creates incredible, amazing new heights of achievement, and then other groups come in and do nothing but castigate it, nothing but complain. I'm not kidding. There's 100 channels where they're like, I haven't bought a Dungeons & Dragons book in 5 years, but it's important you listen to me complain about the book I didn't buy. Like, there's hundreds of channels that are like this, right? It is like an entire genre of content of, I hate this thing, I didn't buy this thing, I have complete ignorance on this thing, now listen to me complain about every move Dungeons & Dragons makes. And so that's why, yes, Gibbs has got a point, right? Like, I was here for the piece. I got receipts, man. I tried. But if the Editions Wars are on, you can bet I ain't standing on the sidelines, right? I'm going to be on them front lines, right? Now, Gibbs has got a point, though. If we go into war, we got to do it honorably, right? So I'm going to try to do exactly what Gibson is saying. And I'm telling you right now, my virtual greatsword is unpacked. I'm ready. I'm here. I'm rolling, right? But I'm going to try to be an honorable knight, right? You know, and do this in the right way, right? So I'm going to try to take some of the vexation out of it, try to take some of the vitriol out of it, right? And let's go forward, all right? So and I even thought, oh, hey, why don't you just do a video today about how much you're loving reading the Dragonlance book and all the awesome things that are in there? And I would like to do that, but part of the reason why I'm going to talk about the 2022 Winter D&D Firestorm today, right now, right, is, you know, why am I going to get into that? Is part of what this channel is a history of Dungeons & Dragons, and that's for real. I've been here for 8 years, and I'll tell you right now, my channel is a history of what's happening on Dungeons & Dragons. If you look here, when a new book drops, I'm talking about it. When an event happens, I'm talking about it. And there are complaints nonstop about Dungeons & Dragons from people who do not buy the books and are speaking out of shocking ignorance, right? But, and like literally say, I hate D&D, you know, I don't buy any of their stuff. Now listen to me talk about every single move, you know, WotC makes and Hasbro makes. Right? It's very real, right? Like, and so there's a sea of ignorance, right? That is spouting nonsense every day on D&D, and there's no way I'm going to sit on the sidelines and not come back at that, right? But Gibson's got a great point. I got to do it with calmness. I got to do it with honor. I have to approach this like a knight would fight for their king or queen, right? You know, like fighting honorably and virtually, right? Because this is a bloodless war, absolutely, which is good. Thank goodness we're except for one, sad sack over in Russia, we're not really hitting each other with sticks anymore. That kind of thing is over, with one unfortunate exception, right? And as soon as we get a U.S. president with spine, we'll end that in a week. I can tell you that right now, right? So it ain't nothing but a chicken wing. It's like taking Russia, like a dude with a dope T-shirt and our surplus supplies is like handing Vladimir's butt on a daily. So like as soon as we get a president that's got two down there, we'll be fine. All right. So here's the thing. Basically, so let's talk. So what is this 2020? And I have to speak to history. This is happening now, right? And just so you're aware, they're like, the way YouTube's works, you got to talk about when they're fresh, right? Like, and so I want to talk about this, but I'm gonna try to do it in a better, less vexed way, right? Inspired by Gibson's comment. All right, what is the 2022 Winter D&D Firestorm? In my opinion, this is the crux of it. This is the crux of it. It really is. They're saying, oh, it's the changes in 1D&D. It's not going to be compatible. Oh, it's Cynthia Williams saying that it's under-monetized. Oh, it's it's the OGL is going to end, right? But these are all masks. It's masks that old men who do not season their food and put mayonnaise in casserole are upset because they are losing their grip on Dungeons & Dragons for real, and now more than ever it is shockingly clear. So let's get into it, all right? So let's talk the talk, right? Old men who do not season their food and put mayonnaise in their casserole have controlled Dungeons & Dragons since 1974, right? Gary Gygax was one of them, right? Trust and believe. So, and the reality is, it was birthed from an old man who did not season his food and put mayonnaise in his casserole, okay? And since then, Every single design lead has been an old man who did not season his food and put mayonnaise in his casserole. And right now, right, with Cynthia Williams, the second CEO of D&D who's a female, right, with One D&D saying, we going digital and physical, right, and with D&D saying, you know what, yeah, like the OGL ain't gonna end, but we're gonna shuffle all your little nonsense projects off because we got a real winner here, right? And if you wanna come even close to using our name, you're gonna pay us, right? And you're gonna put some respect in your voice. That's and I don't think the OGL is ending, but it is definitely changing and saying y'all's gonna do it our way, right? And that goes against what happened in 3E, where Ryan Dancy was like, whole world gets D&D. You can print whatever you want. D&D is for everybody. Now they're like, D&D is a multi-billion-dollar property, and we about to crack the U.S. Cinema in half with the biggest blockbuster you ever saw, and we gonna get paid, right? And guess what? I'm here for it. Whoever owns D&D, especially if you've been a good guardian like Hasbro has for 20 years, I want you to get paid, right? And I don't really care about some nonsense Garage Energy, module you wrote on D&D on DM's Guild, right? And so that's really so this is real, right? Take note, understand. 2022 Winter D&D Firestorm was 1,000 old men who do not season their food, right? And put mayonnaise in their casserole, getting really upset and squawking a lot on the YouTubes, on the Instagrams, on the Twitters, like everywhere they could shout, right? Like, and getting really upset, and about Hasbro and about D&D. The vexation on that side was very real, right? Very real. And we should take a moment, because this is the crux of it. You are hearing the literal and figurative death rattles of the old man does not season his food and puts mayonnaise in his casseroles grip on D&D. It's ending. And that is a good thing. Right? And they're like, well, what you guys going to do? And that group is like, what you guys going to do without us? Matthew Mercer already answered it. There's 100,000. There's like 3 million critters to replace them. Right? And frankly, I'm sick to death of hearing old men who do not season their food and put mayonnaise in their casserole complaining nonstop about D&D. Y'all can shove off, man. Get off of D&D. Ain't nobody need you here anymore. That is the truth, right? Now, if you're an old man who does not season your food and puts mayonnaise in your casserole and can extend even moderate respect, right, and moderate goodwill toward Dungeons & Dragons, please stay, right? But the reality is, I think the word, like what you're hearing right now, is just a massive vexation of the entire old man who does not season his food and puts mayonnaise in his casserole group saying, we lost it, man. It's slipping out of our fingers and we no longer control D&D. And y'all's right. You don't. And it's a good thing. D&D is for everyone. Hasbro has been saying it for 2 decades, right? And Gygax said it first in 1983 when he was like, take a look. This is a 1980 Saturday morning cartoon. I teach lessons in things that are super joyful, right? And he was like, look, here's 2 males, and here's 2 females, and here's a young person, and here's a person of color, right? It's the same thing, right? So the reality is we're here. And that's, in my humble opinion, what this 2022 Winter D&D Firestorm is about. And I know I was pretty spun up even in this one, but I think there's less name calling and less insults, right? Thanks to Gibson. If I'm wrong and I failed completely to be any more honorable about this, I'm always listening. I listen to my comments, okay? I pay attention and I listen to my comments, and if you are even remotely civil, I'm not going to ignore you, all right? That's my humble opinion. Every word I just said is my humble opinion. I'm so ready to hear yours. And thanks for your patience, because I will say I was very frustrated that peace was just shoved to the side by the entire D&D community. And I was like, like, and I just ran to the shed to get my virtual greatsword and said, oh, I've been on the front lines forever. Y'all want me back? Here I am. Right? Like, and I think I was more vexed than I should have been, and maybe did more finger pointing, right? More vitriol than there should have been. So my apologies. Thank you, Gibson, for calling me back from the edge, right? And saying, hey, you ain't a berserker, right? You got to be an honorable knight on the front lines. Agreed. All that's my humble opinion. I'm eager to hear yours. Take care.